Well, I remember my advisor reached out to me personally. They were looking for women to participate in this event. And he's like, I think Trista would really be an asset to this team. And so I sent in my resume. I'm like, here's why I think I'm qualified. I'm like a giant nerd. I love technology. I love consumer technology. So just getting into a space of like-minded women has been incredibly invaluable.
For me personally, Dr. Faustina reached out to me, and I know a lot of girls who were in it last year and like heard great things about it. But me personally, I'm just not, technology isn't necessarily my forte. So I didn't really know what to expect coming into it, but I like things like this, and I like being involved in things like this. So I was like, oh, I'll sign up and see what it is, and it was great. It was a good experience. So
I'm gonna be real honest here. So I went to another event. It was a science ball, and I usually volunteer at like all these sorts of events because I'm with this other organization, Engineers Without Borders. And one of the organizers, like the head organizers there, we really kind of like got along well together. So we exchanged contact information. So I was asking her if she ever went to any more of these events like science bowls. I'd be happy to volunteer. But this time she said that she told me about this, and I was like, oh, so I'll be volunteering here. And she's like, no, I was hoping that you would take my place instead. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna be real honest, I had no idea what this was. But I'm so glad I came here because it was such an amazing experience.
And coming into it too, I thought originally I was going to work with the other OU students, so I thought I was going to be with people I knew. And then as soon as I knew I was going to be working with strangers, I kind of had a little bit of panic. But then coming into it, I was like, oh no, I get to meet new women, I get to get some fresh perspective, I get to bounce ideas off of people I've never met before.
Because it kind of keeps you on your feet. It's always exciting and interesting. And also, generally speaking, I like to kind of, get to know new people, and it's always nice to see how other people's ideas and things like that.
yeah, I think my first thought, I think I wouldn't call it negative, but I'm a person I like knowing what I'm doing exactly. I'm a planner, I'm an organized person. So coming into it not knowing what to expect kind of freaked me out a little bit, but I was like, I'm just gonna do it and get out of my comfort zone. It's gonna be fine. So I would say at first, I don't know if I'd call it negative, but I guess negative. But then as soon as I was here, and then once we were in here working with one another, it was positive from there. So.
And our team dynamic really was established organically. We didn't have to, it felt
things on one another.
It felt really natural. We all had our own strong suits, and they really complemented each other very, very well. And we would get into a zone where we'd just all be silently working, but we all knew
exactly.
we kept
it was fun, yeah.
Well, let me just say, Trista, I think, suggested that we all do 2 truths and a lie as an icebreaker. So I think that also helped make everybody feel comfortable, and we laughed a little bit or whatever. And then we started on just sort of I wrote down some buzzwords based on the truths and the lies. And then they just started sort of talking, and I just wrote wrote down some of the words that popped out to sort of help them think a little bit about what they wanted to do. But I think they sort of early on latched on to environment and recycling, and that they stayed there for a good bit.
Right. I think we were gravitating towards things that we thought we were interested in and passionate about, but then when it got a little bit past the point of brainstorming, we were all kind of at a disconnect. And so we kept saying, we were like, should we just start over? Mm-hmm. We were hesitant to start over because we literally just wasted 3 hours. But at the same time, we were like, we're not gonna be, we're not gonna be passionate about it. We're not gonna be able to talk about it unless we start over. So we started over 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And then once we got to this, we figured it's college students. It's something that we can all relate to. And then once we came up with our idea, then I think we just broke down. I think we all had an idea of what we wanted to focus on. We kind of broke it down that way.
Yeah, we originally were going to come up with a token that had a level on it and also changed colors, but we figured that one was too small. It's also we wanted to do familiar objects. I think the scariest thing about Internet of Things is that people have that buzzword and they have that certain connotation, and there are things with wires, and it looks strange and it's not natural. So we wanted something that's going to blend in. We wanted something that's already naturally in your wallet. We wanted something that's not going to look out of place. We wanted something that was going to be definitely when the user picks it up, they know what to do with it. It's very intuitive. And I think a lot of the design elements that we brought in, like I am a big fan of just like, if it makes me think about it, I'm not going to use it. So we wanted something that immediately when you saw it, you knew exactly what it was going to be doing and what its purpose was. So yeah, we started off with a token. We wanted a money type object because it's already going to be in your wallet. We wanted something that, you know, if someone finds your wallet, they're like, what's this thingy here?
Right. And then the token was kind of like not as practical, I think, because like we were saying, we're like, people throw change away. Like they drop it, they don't care about it. It's in like their like zipper part of their wallet, but a card, the way it is, it can be in front or behind, and chances are you're gonna see it.
And we were also thinking about a sticker that you would place on the card, but people have multiple cards. We're like, that's not gonna work. And we thought about a card sleeve for a while. Christina actually suggested that. She's like, well, why don't you put your card in a sleeve? I'm like, well, you already have like your wallet. We wanted something that already is in someone's habits. We didn't want to make people do something that they're already not doing, because if you're gonna make them change their habits, they're probably not gonna do it and it's not gonna stick. So we wanted something that's gonna be really natural and just is already there. I think the best thing, Christina, when she said like that magical element, if it just works and you don't have to think about it, that's magical to me. I think, well, I'm an RA, so I came in, I did the icebreaker from the get-go because I'm like, okay, we got to do team development and things. I'm really glad we did that. I'm also really glad that we weren't afraid of conflict and disagreeing. Like at certain points we'd come up and like Rebecca would have an idea. She's like, I'm really passionate about this and I don't want to go there. Or I'd be like, oh, but what about this? We all had our own viewpoints and we
like
weren't
respectfully
afraid.
disagreed.
Yeah, there was no arguing, there's no yelling. It was really comfortable.
Yeah, I think the best part was the group, honestly.
If I could change anything, I would want more time. I felt like we had so much we wanted to get out. We had all of these plans and 5 minutes to present it. And I understand like you got to get through a bunch of people, and also the time constraint makes you put all of the quality stuff in there. I wanted to tell everyone about this. I was like, here, like this is the thing, and here's how you do it. I walked away, and as soon as I sat down, I'm like, what if they don't understand it? What if they don't understand it? I was just like so desperate to communicate what this was to people. Yeah.
More time to present.
More time to present. I think
the first time we went through it, we got it was 5 minutes and halfway. So, and that was like probably 40 minutes before we presented. So, I think maybe more time to present, but I also kind of liked that it was it was a challenge for us. I think I would consider it a challenge, but I would keep it 5 minutes to like move forward, because I mean, I think that challenged us to really focus on what was important, and that's something that we really wanted to focus on, was like from beginning to end we wanted to make sure we were cohesive and included everything, whether we got into further detail or not, because I'm a person where I know I want to give every detail about everything, and I want to make sure I hit on everything to make sure that people know what I'm talking about. And I felt like even when we were like taking we were like, should we take that out? Like I was so hesitant to like take certain things out. And I think also I was nervous because we had no idea what other teams were doing, which is a good thing. But at the same time, like I was like, I don't even know if we're on the right track. Like, are we including, like last night we were trying to decide whether we were including like a media budget and like strategy, like an actual like media plan, which we all looked at each other and we were like, none of us are good with numbers, but like maybe we could throw something out there.
And we didn't know what to include
and what not to include, I guess.
And I think part of that plays into, we wanted to play into our own strengths. We wanted to be in a place where we were most comfortable. So since we weren't very familiar with developing a media plan, even if it would have been beneficial to have it, we tossed it out because none of us were good at doing that. So we played into our own strengths really well, I think. And I don't think we needed more time to prepare. I think like the day, like that in and of itself, like at points we were like, oh, we wasted the 3 hours when we went down recycling. Like that was kind of frustrating, but we ended the night like a little bit early.
Yeah, it was around 9.
Some of you want to focus on recycling and some of you want to focus on the zero waste. And so when you decided we're going to just move that off the table, I thought that was cool how you actually got there in a not angry way because it was clear that you felt passionate about those particular issues. I also found it very interesting that one of the early things you guys said was that we didn't necessarily want to focus on millennials, but that's where you ended up. I could also tell that at least one of you was very interested in sort of underserved communities and trying to figure out what problem you could fix for them. And obviously you didn't get there, though that doesn't preclude them from using this particular app. But I like that it was part of the mix. I like that you were thinking about that. I like Trista was the team leader, but I like that the leadership changed among you, depending on what was happening, because I liked how when we came back in after Christine's talk after lunch, and they had spent the good bulk of the morning focused on the environment and recycling and public stations, and just sort of trying to figure out what is the solution and what's the question and how are we serving this person and who is our person. And when we came back after lunch, Tony was like, okay, look, we need to focus on a practical problem. We need to focus on a practical problem. We need to scale back. We're thinking too, we're not going to fix the environment, but we can fix, we can focus on another, a more specific and on a smaller scale issue. And then that focused y'all, because it took you no time from there to say, how to adult, you got on that finances, and then within an hour, you pretty much, had this idea, and then you just fleshed it out.
Yeah, we tapped into our own needs. I mean, this is something that I'm currently trying, I'm trying to build a budget right now. I'm about to graduate in exactly 28 days, not that I'm counting, but I'm trying to know what's going on with money. Exactly, she was talking about insurance premiums out there. I'm like, my pain. So it's like, if and you were talking about underrepresented populations too. Yes, I really wanted to tap into something, because technology is a space that is very usually white and usually male and usually pretty upper class. So I was like, I don't want to fall into that trap. I don't want to give something to a bunch of people that already have a lot of somethings. I want to give to someone who doesn't have a lot of somethings. And yeah, we just got overwhelmed and we got discouraged. And at one point I was just like, oh no, we were just trying to solve a bunch of problems that you can't fix overnight. You can't fix in a day of IoT. Mm-hmm. So I was really conscious of not excluding populations that are very systematically excluded from the technology realm. And I think being conscious of that was really important. And then also being conscious of, okay, well, there's one problem we can solve. Let's focus on the one problem that we know really well.
I mean, honestly, when you go into the workplace, you're going to work in groups. I mean, I have 3 standing meetings a day. I have 3 standing meetings a day, and then other meetings in the sprinkled amongst those, and a lot of those meetings are what we did today. What we did over the last couple of days. We're brainstorming around a specific idea and trying to figure out what is the best way to tell X story. And if you go into newsrooms or if you go into corporate America, whatever, you're going to have to work collaboratively. So I think this built on experiences you had already had. I know that you are just starting your college career. And so now you've had this group experience. And so hopefully you can take some of what you've learned from here through the rest of your college career. And you guys are headed out into the world. Hopefully you won't be part of the 20% that doesn't keep the budget. You'll make the budget and keep the budget. But I think you also learned, again, because Trista was the group leader, but everyone, you didn't boss the group. I guess that's what I noticed.
And I'm a leader in other facets. I lead a student organization, and you do too. And I'm an RA. That's been a natural role for me. But leadership goes through action. Goes through, you have to model the way. You don't have to. Hey, you should really start working on the presentation.
Yeah, we sat there and we're do we need a leader?
We literally said, do we even need a leader? Because it was such a small group. I'm like, okay, well, leaders
we already know our strengths, so we're gonna focus on those. And
you were really organized and really good at phrasing the presentation, and I came in with the actual technical know-how. We all had our strengths coming into it and our passions that we brought to the table. And
I think that's what you'll find when you're in the workplace, and also having a voice, feeling and that's why, if I thought, you or Rebecca or Tony or Eunice or whatever were being quiet, I would specifically say, Rebecca, what do you think? Because I wanted to make sure that you were really okay with what was happening, you know, and not, because not everyone, you may have been fine, or you may have been in your head thinking, I don't like this, but I don't want to say anything because the other 3 people like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there were a couple of times where I'm like, all right, silence does not mean okay. Like,
Yeah.
are you guys comfortable with the direction we're going?
You're like, no.
yeah, or no, or yes. And I think that was also really important.
So, yeah. So I think learning how to disagree agreeably.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like the whole culture of all of the women here, just like how supportive everyone has been this entire weekend. Like I've met so many other people on different teams, and just the ideas that we were bouncing around in between sessions during lunch, like this entire atmosphere, this entire space allowed for so much more than just the actual challenge, which I was really appreciative for.
I think the other thing that was great too were the floating mentors, the
Yes.
floating facilitators.
That was a huge help.
Having them come in and you know, see it cold and offer thoughts.
And if
Yeah.
there were certain aspects too, like we came up with our idea and then we were like, well, this doesn't really seem reachable, or this, we could see it, but we don't know if that can actually happen. Or even like, I know you messaged like Bob Britton on Facebook or on Twitter, and because we needed help on something. So even like the, I would say like the mentors, like the contacts that we had to help us, definitely like, I'm happy that we utilized them and they were tremendous.
Because
so.
there was no way on our team for us to know everything, for us to know all of the technical side or the business side or the marketing side. And we had all of those experts available, which was super invaluable. We had to have
They
used at
helped
least
us
4 or
they
5.
helped us instantly too. Like I feel
Yeah.
like if we needed someone, like we just went out and like called them in, and they were like in here in a second.
Yeah, and I tweeted at Bob, like he had already left for the day, and we're like, well, he really has the skill set that we need. And he was just like, yeah, here's all these links, here's everything you need. I was like, oh, thank you.
Because I'm older than you, I have worked at NPR for 8 years, and I can say 8 years ago, I mean, it has taken me some time to get to a point, even as an adult professional who's, you know, just started working last year, really. Don't do that, man. To be able to feel confident about sort of speaking up in meetings. Meetings aren't led by women. The room is not necessarily filled with women, and sometimes you can sort of feel intimidated. And I think being in this a space where sort of developing that confidence that my ideas are valid and what I'm saying is whether or not it might be a stupid idea, and you know, not because not every idea is great, but I think having the confidence to put an idea out there on the table and let's toss it around and maybe toss it aside, or maybe take this piece of it and leave that piece aside. I think having that happen in this environment was certainly for me a good reminder of maybe I need to do some more mentoring with my interns, or with the Kroc Fellows and with some of the interns who at least one of which is one of my former students, in terms of making sure that they feel confident and empowered when they are in some spaces where maybe silence is not agreement, but they are uncomfortable agreeing. Uncomfortable saying, like, I'm uncomfortable with what's happening here, or I don't think this is the right way to go, or I have another thought, or I like this, you know, you're speaking about millennials, but here I am sitting here and you haven't asked my opinion about this story, and now it's going to run, and we may look foolish. And so for me, I think that's something I'll take back to the newsroom.
I think the hardest thing for me has been finding women to look up to in this industry. My role models in technology are filled with Steve Jobs and all of those types of people, and I have to go to like Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo, before I find a woman in this position that I would love to see myself in, but I get so discouraged because I don't have the contacts. I don't have the people to reach out to and be like, oh man, this thing happened to me, and my opinion of it is valid, and the way I'm feeling is valid. It's so hard to get those groups of people together to be able to bounce ideas off of and not feel afraid that I'm going to be cut off for some reason. It's just being in this environment has it's made me realize that I can go out and I can do this myself if I have an idea. I'm super personally interested in this field and in technology, and I feel so passionately about it, but I get so discouraged so easily because there aren't that support group. I need that support. Like, I need to be able to sit around a table and just talk at people and know that they're listening to me and know that they think my opinions are valid. And so this has been so insurmountable for my own self-confidence and going forward into this industry and knowing that I have ideas and I can act on them. It's really exciting.
For me, I think it's a lot more simple than that for me personally, just because I think in most situations, my instinct is to be a leader and to kind of like give in a group project or something like that, especially in school and even like work situations, I just always immerse as like, okay, like I'll do it. Like we'll do this. And usually I feel like a lot of people I work with don't really care that I immerse as a leader. Like they kind of just like, okay, and I'll tell them what to do and they'll do it and end of story. But here, to me, it was an awesome experience because there was like 50 of me's around. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of like all these other women who care and are passionate and are determined. And that was awesome for me to be around because I just feel like everyone was empowering each other. Everyone had great ideas. And it was like really comforting to know that there are other people around me, my age, younger, older, that kind of have the same personalities as me, the same traits, and even differences too. To really be in any field, like not just technology, like that kind of aspect of it, but just in any field in general. I just think that it's awesome that everyone could kind of come together and really kind of strengthen each other, which is cool.
I just kind of wanted to say, like growing up, I had mostly sisters, so I've sort of been empowered by women since I was born. So, even then, at events like these, it's always nice to work with other women. Although, I almost kind of want to say most of the time in general, I don't feel that overpowered by males when I work in any sort of group projects. But I know still it's a problem. But I think still these days it's not as much as a problem, or kind of coming that way, but it's also that way because of events like these that sort of emphasize the importance of women.
I think also too, like people discredit youth because they equate that to inexperience and that therefore you don't have good ideas and you don't know what you're doing. Where instead of coming in and helping develop that fresh perspective, it's been really disheartening to have ideas in the past to be like, well, you're young, you can't start a business, like you can't do XYZ because of XYZ, and it's just so frustrating. But like all of these young women doing it and seeing it done, like it's possible. Sorry, I didn't